It's early in the morning. We have sunflowers to get harvested and a map to get ready and prepped for the switch to seasons. Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to American Midwest. So we have 2 fields of sunflowers that are ready. It's the last of our crops that we need to get harvested, and as you can see from the weather icon in the top right hand corner of the screen, we do have impending rain today. That's going to happen at some point within the next few hours. So hopefully we can at least get one of our fields done before the rain comes, and then maybe have to wait for the second one. I've already got the I've forgotten what it's called already. Terra variant. There we go. I've already got the Terra variant with the auger wagon attached and in place on the field. We've got our truck standing by, parked up on the side of the road as well, because there isn't a lot of space, at least not initially, to get into there on the field. And here we are driving our combine, and you can't see out the back window, but you can just see in the wing mirror there, we are pulling our corn header, there it is, along so that we can go and get those sunflowers harvested. As I say, once we've got our the last of our crop done as well and harvested and out the way, we can then get ready to make the transition from regular play over to seasonal play. And we're actually making some really good money on our farm now. Our milk is going for currently around about 60,000 a day. Our debts are pretty much cleared. We have a 0 balance loan now, been able to pay that off. I did sell off between the last episode and this one. I sold off the last of that soybean for, again, around 17.70 per 1,000 litres. So we got just about 100,000 for that. So financially we're now in a very strong position, and it gives us some opportunities as we get ready to go into season play. We can add an additional field, no problem at all, which is good. Always good to get an extra field or 2 available to us. But we also have the opportunity to maybe buy some sheep before we get started and make the transition as well. Obviously, Seasons in the Valley, which is my main seasons playlist, that's in the summer now, and we are looking at the possibility of maybe adding some sheep into that farm. But this farm will be starting from spring with animals. We've got lots of cows and we've got lots of pigs already. I think it would be quite cool to have sheep in there as well, and basically have all 3 animal types available to us from day 1 on a seasonal farm, and see exactly what happens, how it's going to really change how we look after our animals, how we make our money, especially with the cows. We're going to have periods where the milk is probably going to be worth a little bit more than normal, and we're definitely going to have a period, the breeding period of cows, which I think is the winter time, maybe the autumn. I'm not 100% certain exactly which one of the 2 it is, but there's definitely going to be a season within the calendar year where our milk is not worth as much, because it's breeding season for the animals, and some of that milk is used to raise the young and feed the calves. So there's going to be a period where our cows are not very profitable at all, and it's going to be an interesting way to see how that works. Also, because we were close to considering selling pigs, when we move across, we'll be looking at the market and we'll be waiting for the optimum time to sell our pigs, so that we can get the most money for them, because obviously they're going to be worth different amounts of money at different parts of the year as well. So I think having animals there and in decent numbers from day 1 is actually going to be quite a good thing for seasons. We're going to be slowly building up our sort of livestock on Seasons in the Valley. On this, our livestock will be there right away from day 1. So I'm really kind of keen to try and get a few sheep in. We probably won't go too big or too heavy with the numbers, but I'm thinking 25 sheep might be a good way to get us started. That'll cost us around about 100,000. And the question is, do we buy them in before we convert, or do we convert and then buy them? And I'm thinking we'll buy them after we do the conversion, because we might be able to get them a little bit cheaper. You never know. So while we're doing that, there's not much else in terms of prep that we need to get done on this farm to convert it over. We've already got, you know, a decent amount of stuff in storage. You know, we don't have any bales, and we're not really doing that much in the way of baling on this farm. You know, most of the materials that we use are loose materials. We already have a load of slurry and manure to help us. Obviously, we're doing the natural fertilisation on this farm, so no synthetic fertilising at all. We also have, you know, a good amount of silage and straw and hay and grass in our forage and chip silo as well, so we have a good basis of materials that we might need in there. We have grain to feed our pigs. The only thing we're a little short on now, obviously we've just sold you know, almost all of it, is wheat. We don't have any barley, and we don't have, you know, more than about 5,000 litres of wheat, so that's the only kind of potential issue, is that we might have to resort to a little bit of pig food until we can get a wheat harvest in. We'll have to kind of see how that goes and judge that one as it happens. We may need to top our supplies up a little bit with some pig food pallets. But everything else, I think we've got pretty much all we need. And don't forget, we are still sitting on a load of silage that is fermented and ready at the BGA as well. We have silage to sell, so we have money available to us going forward with that. As I say, our loan is zero balanced, so that's completely paid off, so we have no debt currently attached to the farm. Once we make the switch to seasons, we'll be able to massively increase the amount of money that we can take on a loan, so we could maybe add 2 or 3 fields potentially, but it also gives us the option to bring in some new equipment as well. Now, I am really toying with the idea of perhaps getting a big M for this map, because we do have a number of dedicated grass fields. You can see we have the one up by the animals, which we probably won't use the big M on because we've got our mowing gear, so that will probably just stay with the mowers which are in the animal farm. But we also have the grass field below it, and then the one just to the right of White's Grains, and then the one below that, the other side of the canal. And then the main reason I want the big M is the grass field, the L-shaped grass field down by the BGA bunker, just below field 12. And of course, don't forget, we've also got that area of grass up in the top right corner next to Ferguson Grain Elevator, which is currently flashing with a great demand for, I think, potatoes. That has, you know, obviously some trees on the top part, but the rest of it is all available as a grass field as well. So we have plenty of spaces where we can actually use the big M quite easily. This is one of those maps, I think, that would really benefit from a big M. It would actually work really well on this map, and it is a cracking piece of kit, so we could possibly splash out, put ourselves quite heavily into a little bit of debt with an extra couple of fields, some sheep, and a big M, maybe even something else on top of that as well. We'll have to see, but you know, I'm looking at fields 25 and 26, and it depends just how much those fields are going to cost us to add in. I've done a little bit of contracting on 26, but not much. I don't know if I've done anything on field 25, but we can certainly look at doing some contract work to bring the cost of those fields down a little bit. Right, let me just tag this little bit that I'm missing. I'm going to hire a worker now to finish this field off for us, and we're going to run in the Terra variant. So let me just run back, jump into that, and hopefully, as I say, we can beat the weather. It's still nice and clear and blue, as you can see at the moment. There's no impending threat of rain, but we know it is definitely coming at some point. The best kind of indicator as to when it's about to happen will be when we get a second weather symbol pop up, which will show that a change of weather is, you know, is imminent and about to happen. So until then, we're just going to keep plodding away, working as fast as we can to harvest our grain. And we might even sell, as I say, we might even sell sunflowers. Let's just take a quick look. Let me get to a point where we can at least tag a little bit of this grain out of here. There we go, got to go nice and wide. Right, so we've entered a couple of thousand there. Let me cruise on now down to the end, so that we should be able to auto unload when our combine reaches the end of the pass. So I want to be about there, like that. That should work. And let's just quickly pull up the menu and take a look at prices for sunflowers. So we have one decent price at the railroad mill, 1,506 per 1,000 litres. That's not too shabby. That's not too shabby at all. And it's by the train, so we can sell it all in one single movement. And it gives us a chance to use one of the new trains as well. So yeah, I think we'll look at maybe selling that. As you can see as well, there is our balance. You know, we're looking very, very healthy at the moment. 156,000 in the account. No debt attached to the farm. We're looking very, very good indeed. Let's quickly check the prices of those fields as well. See how much these are going to cost us. So this field is going to set us back 231. Ouch. That's a bit more expensive than I thought it was. And field 25. That's going to... Ooh, that's very expensive. 500,000. Alright, so maybe we're only going to be getting the one. It depends, I suppose, just how much money we can make off our... sunflowers, because I do really want to get the big M. So maybe it'll be possible, maybe it won't. Let's see, which one of these trains do we want to bring over? We've got this grain train here, we've got a beet train which we could use, we've got another grain train there as well. We'll use this one. This is the one on the main line. We'll keep the other ones under the sheds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this around. If you look, we're working field 10. There is actually a point on there where it runs quite close to field 10. So even if we can't necessarily use the, just unload at the bottom of the field, which I don't think we'll be able to do, we do have a grain transfer point, a grain elevator, just to the side of field 10, to the right hand side. You can see we've got, as the line goes up next to the grass field, there is actually a grain elevator there, so we can park this train there and then we can load our grain onto it at that point. Ooh. Straight through the car there. So I'm going to move the train around there. I'm going to carry on harvesting away, and once that's done, we'll start loading up our sunflower onto this and get ready to sell it once the harvest is complete. I have barely moved along the line since I was with you a moment ago. We've got a long way to go to get around. We've got to loop back down along the bottom, then follow it all the way around, go straight back up the other side of the line we've just come down, through the animals, down the right hand side, along the bottom, back up, around the sawmill, and then we'll get to the grain elevators. It's going to be a long journey, but I've just noticed the weather symbol. We now have 2, which means the wet weather is now on its way. I don't think we're going to get field 10 done. We're probably only going to get about halfway through the field before the rain actually hits us, but it's now definitely on the way. In fact, it looks like it might possibly be starting to get just a little bit foggier. So it could be transitioning into that right now. I think by the time I get the train around there, we will be about to get hit with the wet weather. So if that's the case, we're kind of parked up for several hours until the weather clears. Got a second unload underway here. You can see the train is now parked up by the elevator. And we're going to go and offload this to the truck, which is parked just there, back there by the spinnery. There we go, that's 25,000 litres. So let's go and make our unload draw. The weather hasn't changed yet. I'm actually a little bit surprised. It does look a little bit cloudier than it was. it just feels a little bit foggier on the map than it did at the start of the day, but that weather hasn't changed yet. I'm surprised. I thought it would have started raining by now, but I'm not going to complain. You know, the more harvesting we can get done before the weather changes, the better. So here we go. There is our truck. And there is our grain going into the back of it. So we'll get this unloaded. We'll carry on working the field. And as soon as this is done and full, we'll go and transfer that into our grain elevator and then make our way over to field 12, which is the other side of the building, the other side of the road. You can just see it there in the background. And now you can see the weather is definitely turning. You know, it's getting a lot cloudier. It's getting a lot smokier on the screen. That weather change is happening right now, and it's only going to be another minute or so before it actually starts raining. So we're not even going to finish this field. That's a given. We're going to have to park up for several hours now until this rain has cleared. Oh, it's getting really overcast now. Any second that rain is going to start hitting and we're going to lose the ability to actually start working or carry on working. Oh, and there we go. That's it. So let's whiz through everything. Let's get that grain unloaded. We'll transfer it into the truck and then we'll go and store everything into the elevator while we're waiting on the field. We'll kind of play along with that, you know, theory of keeping the crop as dry as we possibly can. Of course, the interesting thing about something like this happening, if this was a seasons playlist, is, you know, if we were to get rain like this, it wouldn't just knock us out for the few hours that it rained. It would knock us out probably for the entire day, because we would have to wait for the crop to dry out substantially before we'd be in a position to harvest it. A shower at this time of day would probably, depending on what time of year it was, you know, if it was the summer, then we could certainly, you know, get harvesting a little bit quicker. But, you know, autumn, I don't know whether or not we'd actually be able to harvest at all that day. I don't know if the crop would dry out enough over the rest of the day once the rain had stopped for us to actually be able to harvest it. So this is the kind of thing that we're going to have to deal with going forward with seasons when it comes to harvesting. We're going to have to be very wary of rain showers like this, because it doesn't just screw you up for a few hours while it rains, it screws you up for many hours after the rain has stopped as well, while you wait for that crop to dry out enough to be able to harvest. Naughty by keeping the pipe extended this early. Shouldn't really, but I just want to get this crop into the elevator as quickly as we can. Let's jump into the truck. See, we're just sitting here with exposed grain. I want to get that into the elevator where it's covered. We don't have, unfortunately, covers on this trailer. As much as I enjoy this trailer, it doesn't come with a cover, which is a bit of a shame, but what can you do? Just have to work around it, I guess. Get the lights on. And turn in. Ooh, it's tight through there. Of course, the great thing about this trailer is it's a push trailer, so we don't have to worry about tip height issues. It literally just pushes the grain out the back, as you can see. So there we go. Nothing to do now but just sit and wait for the rain to finish. There we go, the weather is starting to clear. Sun is coming back out. It's a little early yet still, but you can see we're kind of whizzing through on time 60, and there we go. That's what we were waiting for. Now we can get our worker back underway and we can continue with our harvest. So let's slow time back down and continue harvesting our sunflowers. I thought I'd just check the prices page list just to see if our price on sunflowers was holding steady, and it's holding pretty well. As you can see, it's still at 1506, and you can see white grains where we sold pretty much everything we had last time out. That price for soybean is now rock bottom at just over 1,000, and Ferguson grain elevator now 1816. That's higher than what we had before, and because it's a grain at the train, we could probably have sold the whole lot in one go. Excuse me. I was trying to hold that sneeze in and failed miserably. Yeah, we could possibly have sold all of our soybean in one single tip, but it's not that much higher than what we got. I mean, we were getting 1770, so we haven't missed out massively. It's just, yeah, it's always the way you sell, and then immediately the price goes higher later at a different sell point. And by that point, it's kind of too late to do anything about it. But we're still looking good, and you can actually see the price for Ferguson grain elevator is going up as well on sunflower. So it may well be that we actually sell there instead of the railroad mill once we've finished. Not only we've got the rest of this field still to go, as you can see, we're about halfway through the field, but we also have that field there to do as well. So by the time that we've got both of these fields complete, then we should have an indication of what the price at Ferguson grain elevator is going to be, which means potentially we could make even more money on our sunflowers, which would be good. Yeah, the more money we can make, the better. We've actually gained some money as the day has rolled on, thanks to our orchard. We're up to 163,500, and while it is ticking down with worker costs, it is still also going up at the same time, thanks to the money that we're getting from our trees. So by the end of the day, we could be on nearly double what we're on right now, I suppose. It depends just how much sunflower we get, and that is a pretty strong price, 1,500. If we can get even higher than that, we could be on for a very nice little nest egg to take across to our seasons enabled version of this map. Well, the AI doesn't want to finish this field off for us. For some reason, there's a little patch just back over there where it just decided to stop unloading, stop harvesting. So we'll finish this field off ourselves, and then we'll do a manual tip at the end. But we're making good time. I mean, you can see it's what, 3:30 in the afternoon now. Obviously, we lost several hours of the day thanks to that rain earlier. We lost a good 4 hours or so from our available harvesting time, but we've got plenty of time left to get the other field done before the end of the day, and then make our final kind of checks. The only thing I'm worried about now is potentially losing a really good sell price, but having said that, the other price was going up. I haven't checked them since we last looked, so once we get this grain unloaded into our trailers, we'll have a quick look and see where we're sitting price wise for these sunflowers. There we go, that's that finished. So let's pipe out. Should see it poking out any second. There it is. I'm going to try and judge the distance of this. Need to come in a little bit, I think. There we go. There goes our sunflower in. Let's see. Oh yeah, Ferguson grain elevator, 1534 and still climbing. So by the time we've finished harvesting our other field, we should definitely be looking at a nice little bit of extra cash. Maybe we will be able to buy 2 fields and not bankrupt ourselves in the process. Let's get the header back on the trailer and move over to the next field. So I'll plonk that about there, I think. There we go. Get connected. This trailer is a little bit long for this particular header, but it's not too bad. You know, the 9-meter header is definitely way too big to go on the smaller of the 2 trailers. The beacon's on. Way looks to be clear. And here's our next turn. There's not much traffic on the road actually. There's one car in the distance there, look. That's the way it goes on this map sometimes. Sometimes you get a little flurry of cars, sometimes you don't get that many. You can see our Terra variant's way off over there, just behind the wing mirror. There it is, just coming into shot. We need to empty some grain out of that as well. There is still some in there. Which way do I need to turn this? I need to park this way. Like that. There we go. So detach. Let's pick up the header. Okay. Unfold our combine, and you know what, I'm going to start at the opposite end of the field this time, I think. I'll start down there and work our way back up the field. There we go, right, more harvesting to get done. So we'll tip the rest of the harvest from field 10 onto the elevator. That way we've got a nice empty trailer to deal with everything we get from field 12. Go. I'm not sure actually how much we got. Let's check here at the refill point. 64,000 litres. That's not too bad. So if we can get, oops, it's a quite, it's a stocky field. If we can get, say, another 35,000 litres or so, get us up to 100,000 litres, then we're looking at around sort of 100 plus in terms of the amount of money we're going to make. 100,000 plus. That'll be quite nice. That'll be very nice indeed. We are making pretty fast work of this field. We're only having to do unloads every 7 or 8 passes or so. Maybe even more than that, maybe every 10 passes. So this is going to be our second unload on this field. And you can see we've covered the vast majority of it already. We're over 2/3 of the way through it by the look of it. So we'll easily get the rest of that done without the need for another unload. Oops. Take that a little bit too soon. There we go. So how is our price looking now, I wonder? We'll find out as soon as we get to the end of this this row. And then we'll unload into our truck, and we can then probably get rid of the Terra variant, take that back to the farm and break it down. As I say, we should have more than enough space in our combine to deal with the rest of the field before it needs unloading, and we can empty directly into the truck once we're done. And there we go. That's the auger fill. Next question is, can we actually get that turn without getting in the way? Let's move a little bit further forward. There we go. Should be fine there. So let's check prices. We're still going up, 15.89, and still climbing. I wonder where it's going to settle. It looks as though we could make quite a nice bit of cash from this sunflower harvest here. And we were looking for another, what, 35,000 ideally. Well, we've got 25,000 in there. I don't know if there's going to be 10,000 left on the field. It'll be close to 10,000, I think. Somewhere in the region of probably around about 8,000. So we won't be far off a total of 100,000 litres to sell. We won't be far off it at all. That'll give us an extra 150,000 and change. So that'll give us, ooh, what? 420, give or take. Somewhere around 410, 420 in terms of actual cash. Well, maybe even more than that. If we say 420, that'll pay for one of our fields, you know, the small field. That'll pay for field 26. It'll also pay most of the money we would need for a big M. Or it would give us field 26 plus sheep. We're going to wait till the sheep... I need to avoid the barriers. We need to wait until we convert to seasons before we do the sheep, just in case we can get them cheaper. No point throwing away money for no reason. So we'll get the field, because we're going to need the field. And we'll probably take out a bit of a loan, and we'll try and buy the other field as well. We're going to need 500,000 for that second field. I don't know. Actually, we might not be able to do that. Maybe we could contract on it to get it to the state where it needs to be. Oops. Missed my turn. We could contract on field 25 and 26. Buy them once we've once we've converted, so that we can actually plough them and cultivate them and get them to the point where we're ready to seed on them before we purchase them. That might be a better idea, actually. If we do that, we're saving a bit of money, we're earning a bit of money, and all the while we'll be getting those fields to the state where we want them before we purchase them. So I think we'll do that then. Instead of actually buying stuff before we convert to seasons, we'll just convert to seasons, and then we'll do all our spending once we get there. And then, assuming we have enough money left over, we might even go ahead and buy that big M as well. I mean, we could wait until the summer for the big M. We won't need that until we go mowing in the summer. So there's no immediate rush to buy the big M either. And there we go, that's everything nice and clean. Let's put that back there. Let's turn the beacons off. Let's get this parked up just here. Let's pull it forward a little bit so it's not right on the edge. Hopefully that will keep it nice and stable. There we go. Juts out just a little bit at the front, but I can live with that if it stops it falling into the ground. And now we'll get this parked up. There we go. And let's jump back to our combine. Where is the combine? There it is. Right, we'll get this field finished, we'll get it unloaded into the trailer, we'll get the trailer unloaded at the grain elevator, and then we'll see exactly what kind of money we can make for our sunflowers. Okay. Almost finished. Just this last little bit to do. I'm doing this manually again. The AI just doesn't seem to like finishing fields for some reason. I invariably end up having to do the last pass or so myself. There we go. Job done. So let's get this unloaded into the back of our truck. It's starting to get dark, as you can see. We've got that glorious sunset coming through again. This map really does have some really nice sunsets. Yeah, you get some really, really nice shots with the light glinting on the side of the vehicles. And this time of day you get that wonderful glow. There we go. See how much we end up with. I think it is around about 10,000 litres in here, you know. I didn't even actually look. Let's quickly jump in the truck, see what our total is going to be. So we were looking for about 35,000 or so, somewhere in that kind of region. And there we go, 35,000, look at that, that's fantastic. Brilliant. So that's going to give us around about 100,000 litres, give or take the odd little bit. So now it's just all about how much we're going to make. It's all about that sale price now. It's the last thing that we need to take care of. And there we go. That's the header dropped. Get connected up. And then we'll park this here for a second while we deal with the truck and the grain. There we go. Engine off. Let's go load this up at the elevator. There we go. That's the last of the grain going into the elevator. Let's check the prices. And it's stabilised at $15.93. That's a really good price. So, I've got to hop over to the train itself. How far am I going to have to go on this? Follow it all the way around along the top. And down. I'm going to have to do pretty much an entire loop. Or not far off an entire loop to get over to Ferguson Grain Elevator. This is going to take some time. So, I'll kind of see you when we get there. That, of course, it does kind of help if I actually put the grain in the train before I pull off. Oh dear. Let's just load the rear train, the rear car. I can't believe I just pulled off and completely forgot to put the grain in the train in the first place. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Now, I think these trailers hold 90,000. Yes, 90,000. So we're going to have to back up to the one in front to complete the last little bit. And then obviously when we get there, we'll be tipping from the last but one trailer first, just to edge that price down ever so slightly, and then sell the rest at the other price. But there we go. That's 99,000 litres loaded onto the train. Luckily, I didn't pull too far ahead. I literally got as far as the level crossing and thought, oh, I need to put the grain in. But yeah, that could have been bad if I'd got about halfway around the loop and then realised I'd forgotten to put the grain in. That could have been immensely frustrating. Never mind. Right, off we go to Ferguson Grain Elevator. We're coming up on the elevator. It's getting pretty close now, just around this sort of little loopy section here as we go over the bridge. See that sunset just reflecting off the water. That looks beautiful. And there is our sell point here, Ferguson Grain Elevator. So let's start slowing the train down a bit. There's our little orchard. Still got fruit on the trees, that's good to see. Means they're still generating money. And we need the last but one train car. There we go. We have the sell icon. So, we have a price of 18.16. This is going to dip ever so slightly when we tip this first bit. 9,000 litres. We get 14 grand for that, 14 and a half. And our price is, still 18.16. Excellent. Let's pull forward a touch more, get the second train, there we go, second train car done. And let's tip all of that. That price is going to plummet once this is done. And there we go, another 142,000. That's fantastic. Price is still showing 18.16. Give it a minute or two to refresh, and then that'll change quite dramatically, I believe. Let's just pull the train forward just a touch to get it off the sell point. Engine off, lights off. Well, it's not changing yet, but it will do. I know that much. Right, let's get the combine put away, and then obviously we'll get the truck put away as well. I'm going to take these back to the farm, and then we are going to convert this over to seasons. Now, to do this, we're going to do something a little bit different, something you don't normally see in a Let's Play video. So I will be back in just a moment once I've washed and stored my equipment. Okay, so we're back on the farm. I've advanced time to the following morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. All the equipment is kind of put away, so to speak. Everything's been dealt with from the harvest. And now it's time to convert this over to seasons. Now, this map itself is not fully optimized for seasons yet. It hasn't had a patch to put a snow mask in. So basically what that means is, because there is no snow mask, bales will not rot on this map. I don't know about grass. Grass may still rot after a couple of days, like it normally does. But in terms of bales, when I say bales, I mean hay bales and straw bales. Now, normally with seasons, if you leave hay bales and straw bales out and it starts to rain, those bales will then start to rot once they get wet. Likewise, if you have a designated area, like on the Valley of the Old Farm, you have the bale storage area above kind of the workshop and wash bay areas where the fuel pump is and the fertilizers are at the main farm. That's a designated safe area for your bales. So you can leave your bales in there, and it'll rain, and it'll snow, and it will not fall inside that building in terms of the actual gameplay mechanics. Visually, it'll still fall through the ceiling, but it won't affect the game. So that's a designated safe area. So you can leave bales in there, and they won't rot if it does start to rain. Not having a snow mask means that won't happen. It means that won't be marked as a safe area. So to stop bales from rotting, no matter where you put them, whether you try and make them safe anywhere, bale rotting for hay and straw is disabled if the map isn't fully optimized and doesn't have a snow mask. I hope that kind of makes sense. So how do we convert this over to a seasons file? Well, it's really, really straightforward and simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just quit the file. Now I've already saved, so it's going to say, do you want to end without saving? Yes, I do, because I have already saved at this point. There we go. So now I need to go back into the save file, and I need to go into my mod list, and I need just basically to add in seasons. So I'm just going to scroll down. You can see I've got all these mods selected. Not all of these are on this file. So this is just my entire list of mods. We're not going to use the Wales geo. We are going to use the American Midwest geo. Kind of apt, really, given the name of the file. So I'm going to activate seasons by adding that into the list. And I'm also going to activate the US Midwest geo. And there we go. We're going to load the game again. This time with seasons and the geo loading into that list of mods as well. And this will then basically relaunch the game from the point where I left it and apply seasons to it. Now this is why I deliberately fast forwarded time to the following morning. If I'd done it where I'd left off once I'd put all the equipment away, that was towards the end of the day. That was about 8:30 in the evening, which means as soon as I'd done the conversion, when I reloaded it with seasons added into the mod list, it would load in and activate at about 8:30 in the evening, which means day one of spring is gone already. So if you are going to do this to an existing file, wait till you get to the start of the next day before you do it. That way you're not losing almost an entire day straight away from your season. So just got to wait for this to finish loading now. Any second now. Come on, come on. And there we go. So, voila. You've loaded seasons on an old save file. Seasons wants to reset all your fields to their bare state to synchronize with the gameplay. You will lose all crops. If you do not reset growth, seasons might not work as expected. So you do have the option of not resetting your fields and leaving them as they are, but you can reset them. Now there are some things to be aware of. Resetting, which is what we're about to do, will not cause your crops to go back to a state where they need to be ploughed. Also, if you did have a crop on there and you reset and that crop was fertilized, you will obviously lose the crop, but the fertilizer will stay on the field. So if you had a field that had a crop that was stage 3 fertilized and you reset the field when you enable seasons, that fertilizer would still be there. It would still have stage 3 fertilization. There just wouldn't be anything planted. So as you can see, all of our fields, all the fields are now reset back to where they were. And our fields do not need to be ploughed, because we're not starting a brand new save file. We're just converting an existing save file with the fields in the state that they were already in, in terms of plough state and fertilizer state, just converting that over to seasons. So there you can see we have our 5 fields. They don't need to be ploughed. I think we've got 1 harvest left on them, maybe 2, before we have to plough them again. And we are essentially ready to go with seasons. One other thing as well, before we kind of end the episode, I just want to raise this up because I know it will have been spotted, and I want to address this before I start getting a load of comments about it. When I was looking at the prices, I was looking at the price at the Ferguson grain elevator and saying, it's not dropping, it's not dropping. I was actually looking at the soybean price by mistake and not the price for sunflower. So I am aware of that. I did realise once I'd finished, recording that little clip, I suddenly go, I'm looking at the wrong crop. So yeah, obviously the prices are very different now because time has elapsed, but that kind of resolves that little issue there. So here we go then. We have seasons now enabled with the Midwest Geo on American Midwest. And that's pretty much the end of this episode. So I'm just going to quickly set this up into Celsius. There we go. We're going to change it to a 6-day season. Snow layer, we're going to turn on properly. We're going to turn snow tracks on, crop moisture on. Everything there is fine. And that is it. That's the end of this episode. We will get into field purchasing and those extra bits of equipment and maybe the sheep in the next episode when we actually start spring proper. So thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I will see you with some seasons enabled American Midwest very soon.